All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. I got the Week 12 live stream here for you. Had to take last week off, and just a current call information. Next week I'll have to take off as well. I'm getting married that weekend, so won't be able to do the live stream that weekend. So I do want to point out something new on the 9 to 5 Sports page before we really get into it. There's going to be a lot to get into. But just kind of updated the NFL DFS section for the 9 to 5 Sports page there. So if you guys want, definitely go ahead and check that out. If you remember, got the cheat sheet there for you. Got the QB projections, running back projections, receiver projections, tight end projections. And then the lineup builder is not active just yet, but it will be here shortly. So just know that that's coming. Got the Twitter feed on the right-hand side as well. Obviously, this screen right here is a little bit zoomed in, but that's what it is. And then you can get access to the write-up as well. So fun stuff. Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Jerry, LT, appreciate it, man. Guys or girls, appreciate that. But looking at this slate, so there's a lot of injury news that's really kind of broke so far. We're waiting on a lot of injury news, so we'll pull that up here real quick. So just looking at like injury news and whatnot, there's a ton. So quarterback wise, there isn't that much. It looks like Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be kind of the way to go. Quarterback wise, if you're trying to dip at value because Tua is out, so that'd be kind of the route that I would go. Thanks, House. Appreciate it, man. So other than that, there's not that much that I love, like value quarterback wise, other than Ryan Fitzpatrick. So really, if you're not paying up for like someone like Justin Herbert, then probably Ryan Fitzpatrick would be the way to go. Running back wise, there's still a ton that we're waiting on. So CMC, he's out, but Jonathan Taylor, COVID stuff came through. Looks like Naeem Hines is going to be the go-to play. Miles Gaskin, he's out, but also Sullivan Ahmed there is also out. So it's looking like Matt Breida is going to be the go-to play. Todd Gurley's out, so Brian Hill is going to be the go-to play there. There's just a ton of injury news, and I'll get into that on a game-by-game basis. So it's interesting one there. And then receiver, it's pretty easy to fit in whoever you want there. Really, the make or break point on the slate is going to be getting this right. And Lewis is wondering, is Cook fadeable in a large field GPP? I mean, I wouldn't. I always go for like just most optimal approach. And for me today, this week, it's Dalvin Cook. There's not really a next best option unless you're really trying to hope that Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs both get like 2 touchdowns each. And that'd be the only way that I really think about like fading Dalvin Cook there. Obviously, it's NFL DFS. There's high variance all over the place. So yeah, I mean, if you're building like 10 lineups, if you want to fade Cook in 2 of them, sure, go ahead and do that. You could easily just go heavy on the top end receivers instead. Then you could go Allen, Hopkins, MT as well. So that'd be the only route I would do that, is if I'm really trying to hedge with the receivers there, because there are a ton of great running back values there. So we'll pull up Matt Breida here. So Matt Breida, I mean, he's most likely going to be the RB1. He did come in and step in for Ahmed there last week when he missed, I think, 2 drives with a shoulder injury. It was Breida that came in and replaced him. We know Breida is a big play guy. He's actually kind of been poor on the ground game this year, though. Hasn't been that impressive thus far. That is the worry here, is that he just hasn't looked like he has in years past so far. And then I've tweeted this out a decent amount, but Malcolm Perry, he's listed as a running back. It's unfortunate because he's actually been their slot receiver. So I would have actually enjoyed playing him at the minimum price at receiver this week. But DraftKings has him listed as a running back, so his min price is 4K instead, which is kind of unfortunate there. But I don't even know if we're going to have to dip into the value tier that much. So let's get into kind of the breakdown of the main side. I'll go game by game like I always do. All right, so we're going to start off with the Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts. So just based on this game, I actually don't mind either quarterback that much. I just don't see a reason to play either of them. Sure, if you're like in season-long leagues in a pinch or something, you can play them, or 2 quarterback leagues, you can play them. But for DFS purposes, I'm not really digging either of them. Once again, Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of came through as a value quarterback play, so I would much rather play him on this slate. We're talking about the running backs, though. With Jonathan Taylor out with the COVID restraints, it's going to be Nyheim Hines should be the play. We know he's going to get used in the passing game a decent amount. The only way that Nyheim Hines doesn't hit value at this price point really is if he just fumbles a couple of times or just once. If he just has like a bad series where they just turn to Jordan Wilkins and Jordan Wilkins has a good series. Wilkins is a solid, NFL running back. We kind of know who he is, but Nyheim Hines is a big play guy. He's a guy that should be in your builds. We know he has that upside to go for 20 plus DK points. If he even gets, 10 rushes, he should be on the field to get at least 5 targets. It should be a very, very similar game to this game, although the touchdowns probably won't be there. So, I'm thinking 15 DK points for Nyheim Hines, and at that price point, we love that. Receiver-wise, in this game specifically, Michael Pittman Jr. is really the only one I want to go with. He's been very impressive on film. It was really shocking to see him only get 3 targets last week, but he's still able to score 15.6 DK points. The 2 previous games, he had 7 and 8 targets. So, Michael Pittman Jr., he's looking like a good play, especially the last time he faced Tennessee. He had 20 DK points. Now, obviously, that was because he had 100 yards receiving. But, receiver number 1 for them at 5K, that's not a bad price point at all for me. So, I don't mind him. And then tight end wise, if you want to punt with the Colts tight ends, yeah, sure, you can. Although there's nothing really to suggest that you should. It's just hoping to get lucky there. I would go Trey Burton over all of them, but you're really just hoping to get lucky there. So, moving on into the next game there, I will say I won't play any of the defenses. We'll just don't really have to touch on that too much, but we'll get into the Cardinals versus the New England Patriots here. So, if you want to pay up for Kyler Murray just for the safety purposes, you can. There's a lot of value open up on the slate. Guy's been very consistent this whole year. Has a good matchup going against the New England Patriots. And actually, let me pull him up here on the 9 to 5 stat sheet here. So this is a rough draft kind of version of the stat sheet still working on this a little bit more. So let's pull them up though. So Kyler Murray, let's see. Okay, so he's projected to score 3.5 points per dollar on DraftKings with a DK projection of 28.6. That's solid. And the thing with Kyler Murray, he's been very consistent as a fantasy producer thus far. You can count on him to get you around 20 DK points pretty much no matter what. It is a decent matchup going against the New England Patriots as well. Then I do want to talk about the other quarterback in this game, which is Cam Newton. Let me find him here. So Cam Newton, decent matchup going against the Arizona Cardinals, having projected to score 21 DK points. I don't know if I trust that much. I do see him scoring around 15 DK points. He just has to get lucky and kind of get a TD. It does seem like they're actually going to revert to the run game a little bit more. It really depends at where the ball is on their goal line, red zone drives there. Is it on the 1 yard line or is it on the 3 yard line? Because if it's on the 3 yard line, we know it's going to be Damian Harris. If it's on the 1 yard line, we just know that it's going to be Cam Newton sneaking it in for a 1 yard carry. And then while I have this screen pulled up, I will just mention Ryan Fitzpatrick, guys. Just he's going to be a decent play. He's very hit or miss, but I kind of like him as a play. But yeah, so I'll talk about Jacoby Myers in a second there. I did mention the running backs a little bit. I see Kenyon Drake getting a little bit of pump up this week. I don't really trust it. The Patriots have been poor against the run, so if you do go with the running back, I'm fine with it. I just don't really see the point of doing it. Receiver wise, though, it's absolutely wide open here. DeAndre Hopkins should have a good week. I just don't know if I feel comfortable paying up that much for him. Now, obviously, you can go off for like 30 DK points in this one, but it's really been kind of hit or miss a lot lately. Pretty much every other game. Now, the targets should be there for him, and I think he will have a big game, but I would just much rather play Keenan Allen or even Michael Thomas, who a little bit cheaper, a little bit more reliable for me on this slate. Christian Kirk has been a big play guy. Targets continue to be there for him. If he was a little bit cheaper, I probably would have rolled with him a little bit more if he was priced at like 5K instead of 5.8K. I would have much rather played him at that price point. And then Jacoby Myers. Let's go. Jacoby Myers. So, yeah, I do expect him to bounce back in this one. It was really shocking to see him only get 3 targets against the Houston Texans. That was very shocking. Obviously, Bird had a big week, and maybe Bird could have another big week as well. I think Jacoby Myers is a much better receiver. He's the best receiver on the Patriots, so I do think that they're going to try to get him involved. if the Cardinals are up, obviously they're going to be passing it a little bit more, which should force feed some more targets to Myers and also Birds. So if you want to do like a small game stack here, you could easily do that as well. So I'll do that real quick because it is pretty stackable. If you want to go Drake, you could do that. So this is kind of how it would look. I'm fine with that. It's going to be a low owned stack, and it could hit. If that game goes off, it could hit. So I'm fine with that. All right, so got a question here about Calvin Ridley, so I'll touch on that here. So yeah, with Julio Jones out, I believe that was confirmed this morning. I do like Calvin Ridley as a play. I just at 7.1 for him, I struggle with that. That's where I struggle with him today. For me, just looking at the receivers on that team, I kind of like Russell Gage a decent amount. 12 targets last week, 6, 7. So 3 out of the last 4 games he's had, over 6 targets. And at this price point to begin 6 targets in a pass-heavy offense, I do like that, especially with Todd Gurley out. You could see Russell Gage getting involved. That's going to be another game that I'll touch on here in a second. I'll just touch on it right now since we have it pulled up. You could easily do a Matt Ryan. Maybe if you want to go with Josh Jacobs and Brian Hill, you could go like full on onslaught up here and just like really game stack this game. I'm not sure that's going to be the approach that you want to go with, but you could. But Nelson Aguilar, Russell Gage, obviously we want to favor the Atlanta pass catchers a little bit more in this specific build because, obviously we have Matt Ryan. But I do like Darren Waller as a tight end play in general. You could easily fit him in your cash builds. And then obviously defense, you don't want to do that. Change the flex here. This is a plausible game stack here. Obviously, you're really shooting for it to be a high scoring game, but you could really fit it in there. It's really easy. And then you could still easily pay up for Dalvin Cook if that's the route that you want to go. I don't know about easily. Let's see. Yeah, you can't easily fit him in. You'd have to make a slight adjustment, but you could easily fit him in there. I mean, pay down for defense, and then you just have to make one slight adjustment here. Whichever player you don't feel confident in, I don't see the point of playing up for Josh Jacobs in that specific build, so you could go with a different running back there. It's pretty simple. I actually like that. That's kind of the breakdown of that game. Brian Hill, I'll get into that one a little bit more because I should. So Brian Hill, he's a great value. There's a ton of great value running backs on this slate, though. That's the problem. Last time Zacchaeus got me when I went with Gage. That's the problem. Christian Drake and Zacchaeus are both pretty solid receivers as well. So I get it. It's not a cash play, that's for sure. Just a GPP play. But Brian Hill. So what can we expect from him? I do think that we can expect around 10 DK points from him. Not sure that we can expect anything more from that, though. We really just have to get lucky with the touchdown here. So I'm projecting him to score right around 10 DK points. If he does get a touchdown, right around 16 DK points, which at this price point, you're going to absolutely love that. He does get used in the passing game a decent amount. So, I'm perfectly fine with playing Brian Hill in cash. That's going to be up to you guys if that's the route that you want to go. All right, let me change screens here. All right, so the Cleveland-Jacksonville game here. So, yeah, Baker Mayfield, who's really struggled. Now you have Mike Glennon, who I saw some stat about Mike Glennon. I don't think he's ever had like a 3-touchdown game in his career, and I believe he hasn't scored over 20 DK points in his whole career as well. Very, very bad. That's just how it comes. And then you got Baker Mayfield, who I believe he's only had one game over 20 DK points this year. Yes, one game, and that was a huge game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Not really sure what we should expect from the quarterbacks there. This is one where I actually don't mind playing Jags D this week. Obviously, my strategy with defense, most of you guys know this, is that we just want to pay down for the lowest price defense that is not going to go negative, okay? That could easily be the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. They haven't won negative this whole year. Baker Mayfield struggles. Now, obviously, the run game is what we want to target in this one. So just looking at it, Nick Chubb in a great spot. The only problem with him is that he hasn't been using the passing game at all, although I do expect him fully to get 100 rushing yards. I'll pull him up here on the 9 to 5 page as well. Let me find that. Nope. Here we go. So yeah, Nick Chubb got him projected to score right around 17.2 DK points. I think that's right around what he'll get today. Just I wish he was using the passing game a little bit more, because then I'd absolutely lock him in. I do love him as a play today. Sorry, he's projected to score 20.4 DK points. Got a little bit of a bump there with the matchup, 3.2 there for the matchup rating. That's his plus minus for the matchup. So running backs against the Jacksonville Jaguars are seeing 3.2 more points per game to their average. So around 20 DK points for Nick Chubb. That's really the best that you're going to get on the high end range. Now, obviously, we want him to score a touchdown, and we want him to score points because of his 100-yard rushing bonus. That's really what we're keen in on here. If he gets 97 rushing yards, that's going to be very painful, because then he might not hit value. But this is a game where you could easily go Nick Chubb, and you could go James Robinson as well. Don't mind James Robinson as a play. Have him projected to score right around 15 DK points. Not loving it, but not hating it. I will say we got a lot of viewers coming in today. Do appreciate that. Got right around 30 steadily here. Appreciate that, guys. It makes it go by smoother. Happy to help you guys out as well. So Lewis here, I'll answer that question in a second. Favorite receiver under 3.8. I'll answer that in just a second here after I get finished with this game here. But yeah, Nick Chubb, perfectly fine with it. A lot of people do like Kareem Hunt. I get it. The guy's been consistent. Really deep price drop there. And for a guy that probably will score right around 10 DK points, I'm not sure how much he'll have to get used in the passing game in this one. I don't like the game script, because, it's just the NFL, stuff can happen. So don't exactly want a game script, but I don't see him getting used in the passing game as much today as he has in some other games, because I don't think they'll be behind as much. And really just looking at the Cleveland Browns' recent data, it's been very skewed by some bad weather. I mean, like 3 out of their last 4 games were horrible weather games, especially the last 2. So a lot of that is a little bit skewed. So take it with a grain of salt. They're kind of their recent production. But I do think that they'll establish the run and get Nick Chubb involved a decent amount. So talking about my favorite play under 3.8 for receivers, I don't see how we don't go with Keelan Cole today. Yes, he has Mike Lennon. Mike Lennon's horrible, and so that would be the reason not to. But he's going to be the receiver number 1 on this slate. He'll be operating on the outside a little bit more, which I don't love that exactly, but for this price point, 3.6 for a guy that's probably going to see right around 7 targets, that's really good. And we've seen him in games where he was consistent early on there, really consistent through the start of the season. DJ Chark started to come on, Chris Conley started to come on, so I do like that. And then just looking at Laviska Shenault as well. He's going to be back. He's a guy where he was putting up a lot of like raw just DK points, where if you're really getting down there, I actually like Shenault a decent amount. Chris Conley's out. DJ Chark's out. So he's going to be going back to that same role where he's going to see right around 6 targets, probably get a carry or 2. They're going to want to get him involved. Now, the only worry with him is that the injury is one where it could start to flare up, and then he just has to leave the game. That's the only worry with him. Then tight end wise, I do still really like Tyler Eifert, guys. He's going to be a strong play just at this price point range. Now, the only thing that worries me with him is that he only played around 50% of the tight end snaps last week for the Jaguars. Maybe that's because they were getting blown out. I didn't exactly pay that much attention to which tight end was in the game at the end of the game when I was watching the game. But still, 5, 4, and 5 targets the last 3 weeks. He's got a plus matchup there. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers have both been very good against opposing tight ends thus far this season. The Cleveland Browns have not been. They're one of the worst in the league. I'll try to pull that up here on the 9 to 5 page as well, just to emphasize that a little bit more. What's your favorite stack, ownership not considered? So I'll pull that up here in just a second. It's another game that we have coming up here. So let's find Tyler Eifert. Okay, that projection's wrong. That's their yardage. So once again, this is a rough draft version, but just based on the matchup there, tight ends are seeing 3.3 more points per game to their average there. So Tyler Eifert, I like a decent amount as a play there. It's just whew, 3.2. So what is he averaging right now? 4.9. He's going to score right around 8 DK points projection wise at this price point for just really trying to pay down at tight end. It makes a ton of sense to me, where you can really fit every other stud into your build by just paying with Tyler Eifert. So speaking of game stacks, this is not one that I like a ton, but it's one that you could do. It's going to be a ground game. Like this is going to be a low on stack that you could possibly roll with if you want to do that. It's not one that I prefer, but you could do it. So talking about one of my favorite game stacks just right now. I don't love it, but this is a decent one. Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I already talked about a decent amount. Fitzpatrick here is in a good spot. He's already averaging 20 DK points on the year. Now, he has had some really bad games, against New England and then against Denver. Denver's not a bad defense, though. I expect big things out of Fitzpatrick today, especially at this price point. Like, if he just scores 17 DK points, we're good with it. If he scores 25, obviously, we really love that. So, Fitzpatrick, I do like a decent amount. The only problem with Fitzpatrick is if we're playing him, then we most likely have to play Devonta Parker. Parker's targets have been there, 9, 7, 7. We know that Fitzpatrick did like him a decent amount last year at the end of the year when Preston Williams was also out. So Fitzpatrick really force-fed Parker targets last year at the end of the year. I fully expect the same thing again in this game going against the Jets, who the Jets present a great matchup as well. And then you could go with Denzel Mims, who has been kind of the target guy lately. 7, 8, 3, 7. Hasn't exactly been producing, but he has looked better each and every game thus far, which, that's good. I haven't really exactly been impressed with Mims thus far, though. Perryman has been a big play guy. Scored 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Not exactly sure we can trust it, but if you're trying to game stack, you could easily do that as well. If you're trying to game stack, then you would have to go Mike Gesicki. I do really like Matt Breida, though, as a value play. I already touched on this a little bit, but Ahmed is out there and Gaskin is out there. It's going to be Matt Breida as the RB1 in this offense, most likely. It's not guaranteed, but I just don't see them rolling with DeAndre Washington because once Matt Breida was back and healthy, it was the Matt Breida show. He was inactive last week with Matt Breida back. And then Patrick Laird, he's just kind of a special teams guy. He only plays on passing downs, really. And then Malcolm Perry, very explosive slot receiver. I touched on that. He is not a running back. He hasn't been used that way thus far. Maybe they do use him eventually in that way, but just not yet. We'll say if there's anyone new here on the live, make sure to give a like and subscribe. Would appreciate that. Let's see here. Just skinny stack Dolphins. Yeah, exactly. You could easily do that. I don't mind Frank Gore. This is weird to say, but with P. Ryan out, they kind of just resorted to Frank Gore. Now, obviously, you're really hoping for a touchdown there, and there's much better value elsewhere, but you could easily do that. So Matt Breida or Brian Hill. I don't really like Jordan Wilkins. I'd much rather pay up for Nyheim Hines for that question there, Haas. But I'm going with Matt Breida right now for me. It's tough, though. The real stat that I'm looking at for that decision maker is that the RB1 for the Miami Dolphins has been very consistent this year. Each and every game getting over 10 DK points. They're a top 10 running back thus far combined. And then, Brian Hill, we just don't know exactly how much of him we're going to see. I do think he'll be the RB1, but I do think he could be more of a 60-40 split where I think Breida is going to see around a little bit more percent of the snaps, maybe like 65% of the snaps. So I'm favoring Matt Breida. Better matchup. Game script should go his way a little bit more. But I don't love it. That's the big make or break point. And then let's see here. Dolphins are playing back-to-back road games. I don't really factor that in that much unless it was like a London game. Then that worries me a little bit. But right now, I'm not really worried about anything like that. All right, let me get some water and then I'll get on to the next game here. If you guys have any more questions, get those in and I'll get those answered as well. All right. So the Giants versus Cincinnati game. This is actually a very stackable game as well. You got Daniel Jones priced at 5.5. I like that. Good price point. He's not consistent, but he does have those games where he can go off. Now, he hasn't exactly had that this year. His highest point total has been around, 22 DK points, but he hasn't really had a great schedule, in all honesty. Philly's good D, Washington's a good D, Buccaneers are a good D, and, Philly. So, literally, his last 5 matchups have been not plus matchups. This week it is going against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it wouldn't shock me if he goes off for 28 DK points in this one. And why am I saying that? Well, I really like Sterling Shepard. You guys already know this if you watch that core plays video. Target machine, very consistent fantasy producer, plus matchup. He, in all likelihood, should hit value at this price point. Love him as a play. But I also really do like Darius Slayton as a play. He should be in for a huge week. Now, he's a little bit more hit or miss, but I really do like Darius Slayton on this one as well. 7 targets last week. 9 against the Buccaneers. The weird thing is that just randomly, Daniel Jones forgets that he's on the field and they stop throwing it to him. That's the weird part. So you could go with him. And then even Golden Tate at this price point, I like him a decent amount as well. You could easily stack him. Now, you're hoping for a touchdown here, but the guy has been seeing, an average of 8 DK points, which at this price point, not horrible, especially if you're trying to do a game stack. I'm not really sure which one of these receivers I favor the most, although I really do like Tyler Boyd and his targets. He's very consistent as well. This is kind of like a safe build that you can do that also has upside. Like this stack right here is very plausible. I like it a decent amount here. AJ Green or T. Higgins you could roll with. Running back wise, we are still waiting on Giovanni Bernard news. He is expected to play, which I don't know how someone can be expected to play if they haven't passed their final concussion test. So I would say it's more 50-50. If he does sit, we also have Samaje Perine, who might actually be my favorite 4K value play given the matchup. That would just make it more difficult. So I really hope that Giovanni Bernard does play because I don't want to have the headache between choosing between Brian Hill, Matt Breida, and Samaje Perine. That would just be a headache. That's nothing that anyone wants to do. No one wants to do that. Then Wayne Gallman, I don't mind as well. You could throw him in a game stack as well. All right, so let's see here. Who's the best play up for a receiver worth paying up for Hill? So, let's see here. Great timing with the question there, Josh, because it's Keenan Allen. It's just, I don't know how we go away from Keenan Allen in this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. They really do struggle with kind of inside routes. A lot of the times, Keenan Allen's run an inside route or a quick route. That's really what they struggle with is like those quick routes. Players get up the field and they're gone pretty much. So Keenan Allen, the targets have been there. Very consistent target share. Heck, the guy missed pretty much a full game in week 5 there, and he's still averaging over 10 targets per game. Absolutely insane. With Justin Herbert there, Keenan Allen should be the play at receiver. Now, yes, if you want to go with Tyreek Hill, I'm perfectly fine with that. I really do like Tyreek Hill. A lot of people have been sleeping on him. Michael Thomas I like as well. You could easily fit a lineup stack, or not stack. You could fit a lineup with all 3 of those guys in there and feel pretty good about it this week because of all the value that we have. So just looking at this game, though, it's kind of simple. You can pay up for Josh Allen if you want. I just don't really see the point of paying up for Josh Allen when we have Justin Herbert slightly cheaper. I'll pull those guys up here on the stat sheet as well, so you guys can see it. I got Josh Allen projected to score right around 28 DK points, and I have Justin Herbert projected to score right around 28 DK points. Now, those are a little bit juiced up, a little bit, but matchup-wise, I do like it. So Justin Herbert, I'm going to put him in the build there. Austin Eckler is going to be the interesting play here. The thing with this injury is that I don't see why they would rush him back if he wasn't ready to go. We've seen the workout videos with Austin Eckler, and if you haven't, look him up. The dude's impressive in the weight room. He's just a hard work ethic guy. So, 1, conditioning-wise, I think he'll be good to go. And then 2, I just don't see why they would rush him back at all. They're not going to make the playoffs, although they should. I mean, every year it's the same story. But He's a guy where we saw him be very consistent thus far this season. He could get a bunch of targets, especially with Justin Herbert there. We've seen Kalen Ballage be very successful. And we've also seen Troy Pope be very successful. And we also saw Josh Kelly be decently successful as well as Justin Jackson. My point is that the RB1 in this offense has been great. To get Austin Eckler at 6.1, if he's going to be the workhorse running back, is great. Now, he's only a GPP play, but I do like this play a decent amount for Austin Eckler. Given the price point, you might get a little bit of ownership leverage there. Especially if Kalen Ballage sits, I do like him a little bit more there. The best part about this game is that it's a noon game, guys. We don't have to wait for the Chargers news to come through. It's been kind of hectic with the Chargers with the afternoons game with their running backs. Having to wait on that news because you didn't know if it was going to be Kalen Ballage, Troy Pope some weeks, Justin Jackson, or Josh Kelly. It's been very difficult. With Eckler active, no, I don't think that he will ruin Keenan Allen's usage. I get the question, but for me, Kalen Ballage has gotten a ton of targets and hasn't affected Keenan Allen at all. So if anything, it could help him. Could help Keenan Allen has some more open targets, and then just Mike Williams, big play guy. Don't mind him. You could put him into your build there, and then you could go with Gabriel Davis as the value receiver play. He's my favorite 3K value play on the slate. We've seen him be successful with John Brown out. John Brown is out. You got to look at the 2 games that he played that John Brown was out in. One of them was a bad weather game against the Jets, I believe is what it was. And then the other game was against the Tennessee Titans, scored 10 DK points. It makes a ton of sense for a game stack. They could easily fit Hunter Henry in there, and then you're sitting pretty. I mean, this is a solid game stack build right there. Obviously, fill in where needed. It is a very solid GPP game stack build there. Justin Herbert, right around 20 DK points. Keenan Allen, probably right around 20 DK points. You're hoping to get lucky with a touchdown there, and then you're hoping to get lucky with a Hunter Henry, just target share. So Terry coming in with the Kalen Ballage inactive news. So that does change a decent amount there. Yeah, that makes me like Austin Eckler a little bit more there. I like that decent amount. So what are my thoughts on Zacchaeus there? I kind of answered this already, but I'll go back to it here. So Zacchaeus. A lot of people... I guess I get the appeal with him a little bit, but we got Christian Blake there, who they like to use him. Russell Gage is there. I don't see the point of risking it with Zacchaeus there when there's just as good a value there at receiver wise. I do see these two splitting snaps a little bit, but it's going to be Russell Gage. It's going to be Calvin Ridley. I do get the appeal to Zacchaeus. I don't want to talk anyone off of him as a GPP play, but just looking at value on the slate, I'll go back to it here. There's a ton of great value. So you got Bird there, who's not technically a value play, but he's fine. Don't mind him. We'll go lower here. So Keelan Cole, I already mentioned him. He's a great value play on this one. Really like him. I believe, let me just check in it. Hardman, I believe he's active now. Okay. I was thinking DeMarcus Robinson could be a sneaky GPP value play, but let's go lower. So Keelan Cole, like him. Denzel Mims, like him as a value play. We'll continue to go lower. Chenault, great value play. Heck, I don't want to play this, but I could see Jalen Guyton getting his 2 targets and catching a deep one for a touchdown in this game. Don't bet that at all. Just kind of random prediction. Andy Isabella should get a little bit more targets with Fitzpatrick out. Or Fitzgerald out, and then you can even go lower. I already talked about Gabriel Davis. I'd much rather play him. So there's just better value out there, safer value out there for me on this one. Then moving on to the Carolina versus Minnesota game. This is a very, very stackable game as well. I wouldn't say that this is my favorite just because Teddy Bridgewater is priced up a little bit, but you could easily make it work here. So Teddy Bridgewater in there. We're going to play Dalvin Cook in there. And then receiver-wise, it's kind of simple. I do really like Curtis Samuel as price point. I'm not sure we should exactly play all 3 of these guys, but you easily could if you wanted to go that route. Full-on game stack here. I don't love it, but you could do it. Kyle Rudolph, you're going to run it back with as well. So Dalvin Cook, Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith is out. Kyle Rudolph has his best game of the year with Irv Smith out last year, or what was it? It's 2 weeks ago against the Chicago Bears. That was a tough matchup. Was able to score 9.3 DK points. He's my second favorite tight end value on the slate. Then you're set up pretty well. If you guys want to go with Justin Jefferson, you could. A sneaky value play with Adam Thielen still out would be, I don't want to recommend him, but BC Johnson, 3K play. The only reason you'd play him is to game stack, but very solid base here. This is one where I don't think I've submitted this. I'm going to go back and submit this after this live stream because this is very, very solid there. And then we're going to get into the fun game here. I'm going to go back to the main screen for this game. All right. Crack the neck. All right. Let's get into this. So we got NFL running back Taysom Hill starting at quarterback, or starting tight end, sorry. Chad Beebe. Yeah, Beebe is good too. Jerry is a Vikings fan. Do you think it'll be Beebe, or do you think it'll be BC Johnson there? Curious as to your thoughts. I'm thinking it'll be BC, but so yeah, we got Taysom Hill in this one going against the Denver Broncos. I don't really like it, to be honest with you guys. Obviously got used a lot in the rushing game. He was very TD dependent, and we know kind of with the Saints, it's very fluky, the touchdowns. It's either going to be, it's random somewhat. Sometimes it's passing, sometimes it's running, sometimes it's that forward pass, motion pass, and a tight end scores. It's very unpredictable. So I actually don't mind going back to the well with Alvin Kamara. It was weird to see his usage. Now, Taysom Hill, a lot of design runs, but it was very shocking to see his target share go down the way it did, especially against the Atlanta Falcons. He should have had a big week, and he just didn't. He did get saved by one touchdown. Denver Broncos lately have been very beatable via the running game. Okay, so you could easily do that as a low-owned play. I don't think many people are going to play him. I don't think many people realize how bad the Denver Broncos have been recently. Let's see if they added Hilton in here. Did they? The receiver that's playing at quarterback? They didn't. I don't believe so. Yeah, they didn't, which is fine. I wouldn't play him anyways. But what I'm struggling with here is that everyone knows my strategy is pay down at defense. Never pay up for a defense. My two worst weeks this season have been weeks in which I paid up for a defense because I felt good with the salary that I had left over. And I think I would have to go back and check, but the defense that I would have went with for both slates, I think it was like 2.2 and like 2.1 on those specific slates. They both didn't go negative. So the Saints, like if they don't score double digits, if they only score 7 DK points, the 1.8K difference here is huge. It's massive. But I do think that they're going to be a solid play. I mean, they're not going against a freaking NFL quarterback. They're going against a freaking receiver that was a bad college quarterback as well. So, Saints D, you could easily fit them in there. And then you could really stack elsewhere. I'm kind of mad because I did decently like Noah Fant in this one as a tight end play. Thought he was going to be sneaky good at that price point. We can't really trust any receiver now. I do like Michael Thomas, though. That was very encouraging to see Taysom Hill target him a ton. Don't think he's going to see double-digit targets again, but I do see him, seeing like 8 targets in this one. So he's a pay-up play if you want to go with that. So Andre is asking, balanced approach or team jam them in. So that is definitely the question on this one. So the problem with this one is that there's not elite top end plays this week. I mean, there's Dalvin Cook, there's Keenan Allen. You could pay up for Tyreek Hill if you wanted to do that. You could pay up for DeAndre Hopkins. You could pay up for Michael Thomas. My struggle is that I really love Sterling Shepard at his price point. I really like Curtis Samuel. I really like Devonta Parker at their price points. You could easily play Fitzpatrick at quarterback. You could easily play Justin Herbert as well. The real question there is, what do you do? Do you do Darren Waller and then jam in everywhere else? Or do you pay down at tight end and go with, Kyle Rudolph or Tyler Eifert? That is the biggest problem. That's where you're going fair and balanced, or you're going studs and duds, because if you put in Darren Waller, that's really strapping in the rest of your build there. You're definitely going to be paying down for, some players that you don't exactly feel good for. It'd be like Matt Breida here. It'd be, let's see, be Brian Hill then, which is fine. Not Brian Hoyer. What the heck? I don't. I would rather play Fitz in one like this, and then obviously you can fill in where needed there. That's fine. So it's kind of a hybrid. It's not exactly team jam them in, because there are some really solid price points, but it is more of like a jam it in than not a fair and balanced though this week. Thoughts on Antonio Brown? Let me pull him up. So Brown I don't exactly like this week, although his price point's still great, guys. I mean, he is the receiver number one in Tom Brady's eyes. 8 targets, 2 weeks ago, 13 the week before that. He is at a great price point. The problem with him this week is that I think he has to score a touchdown to really exceed his value with the quality of plays that we have right around his price point. I haven't even touched on Robert Woods, but equally similar matchup for Robert Woods. He could go off as well. So I'd much rather play DeVonta Parker than AB, but I'm not going to talk you out of AB. He's a very solid play. I get that play. All right, so we'll wrap up here kind of quickly. I got about 7 minutes. So I just mentioned Robert Woods. He is kind of cheap. Going against the Niners, I do like him as a play. And a little bit hit or miss, which is surprising, but he's also been consistent. It's very weird. The targets have been there. The touches have been there. He's seeing right around like 9 opportunities per game. Just hasn't exactly been able to convert them, but when he has, he's done well. Running back wise, who knows? Raheem Mostert's going to be back. I expect him to do fine, but he was always like limited anyways. That running back situation in this game, this is like the classic showdown slate that we've had, where it's like we got 3 running backs to deal with, some hit or miss receivers, kind of just a stay away game for me in general. Nothing to really love. Nick Mullins should get dominated. Jared Goff, maybe he could go off. Tight end wise, nothing that I love, although I didn't see this. Huh. Oh man, this is huge. I didn't even notice this. This is really huge. Tyler Higbee is questionable. If he's questionable, Gerald Everett might just be a lock, because we've seen when one of them is out, the other one steps up and has a huge game, or at least 10 DK points. We saw it dating back to last year and this year as well. That is very interesting news there. Huh. I hate waiting for the afternoon nose. Maybe if you guys are breaking it up into like an early and afternoon slate, we go with Everett in that one for sure. Sorry I touched on this game a little bit. So got a question about Sammy Watkins. No, for me, I don't really see the point of playing him. I'd rather play Darius Slayton at that price point. And other than that, I just don't really like him in this one. I mean, the Buccaneers are still a quality defense. I don't love that. I do worry about Travis Kelce at this price point in this matchup. Obviously, he's been a beast the last 3 weeks, kind of this whole year. He's only had 1 dud on the season, which was against the Denver Broncos, who the Denver Broncos have been a much better defense than people think. Quarterback-wise, I don't want to pay up for Patrick Mahomes in this one. There's other quality quarterback plays. Running back-wise, just don't play them in DFS. There's no point. Tyreek Hill, I am fine with paying up for Tyreek Hill if that's the route that you guys want to go. You could do like a slight game stack. This is like a secondary game stack that you would do off of a main GPP game stack, where Brown and Hill you're kind of throwing in there as a secondary game stack. But that's really it for me in that game. And then this game is postponed, which I don't know why DraftKings decided to put that game in the main slate. That was weird. That was definitely the wrong decision for them. But that's about it, guys. So I will say, definitely check out the new 9 to 5 page there. This is going to go away here. It's going to be just one tab, and then it's going to be this main, home landing page there for you guys. So kind of excited for it. Hope you guys enjoy that. Everything should be up and running correctly by next week. Projections should be a little bit more finalized then, but it's very easy to work. That's what I was going with. Once again, Twitter feed from 9 to 5 on that side. Most recent membership article right there. Then we have some of the old ones as well down here. So for showdown builds and whatnot, that's going to be right there as well. So I'll be hopping on the 9 to 5 Sports membership page, doing the updates there for those 9 to 5 members. So begin that in about 30 minutes, finalizing it all. So what does Thielen being out do for you with the Vikings? So actually, I don't mind Carolina defense as well there. So if you want to roll the Carolina defense out there, you can do that. They're at a fine price point at their price point. But really, I like Kyle Rudolph a little bit more with Irv Smith and with Adam Thielen out. I think that'll mean, 6 or so targets to Kyle Rudolph, and they should be easy targets. So I like him a little bit more. That's he's, to me, the deciding point on the slate. The make or break point is, do I pay for Darren Waller? Do I play Kyle Rudolph or Tyler Eifert? It's really deciding between those three, and then also the running back value, Matt Breida or Brian Hill, just getting that correct. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be heading out here and heading over to the 9 to 5 Sports page, getting those updates in. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did. It was a fun live stream. Thanks for being here, guys. All right, we're out.